People who bought a house. What is the weirdest thing you have found left by the previous owner? The previous owners had cut the main beam holding up the second floor in order to run the heating duct. What's this big block of wood? No idea, hand me the reciprocating saw. Surprise! The walls were insulated with black paper and newspapers from 1922, and included an article on the church down the road. Was it the priest's job to be entertaining and put bums in seats, or was it people's moral duty to show up even if the sermon was boring? The church turned into a daycare, and was then torn down to make way for townhouses, so I guess we know how that one turned out. We bought a house that has Scrabble tiles in the most weird places. In the gutter, redoing the garden, they're buried and scattered there, they're embedded into the skirting boards, under the kitchen units, and even behind the bath panel when I replaced it. I've yet to go in the attic, but I wouldn't be surprised if I found a few there. It has become a little joke between me and my partner when we will next find some Scrabble tiles. It's probably not the most weird, but it did give us a chuckle as to why there were so many Scrabble tiles hidden about the place. We've bought my family home, and my grandfather still lives here with us, but we have found some funny things. We recently moved furniture around for the first time in decades. There is glitter everywhere from the one time 30-ish years ago that my grandmother used glitter in the fake snow for the Christmas village. The basement is unfinished, and you can see some of the nails in the ceiling are really sporadic and out of place, from when my mum and my aunt helped play the subfloor as kids. There's also little doodles and notes from then in some places. We found 2 bloody socks in the ceiling of our first house, 80-year-old row house, when we were finishing the basement. We found a handful of random baseball cards under the landing of the steps in that house also. None of them were worth anything. The new house had the original neighborhood plan and house survey 30-year-old house hanging in the garage. My parents framed it for us. There's also a German first aid kit in the garage with all the boxes of nails, screws, nuts and bolts. We live in Delaware, so the German first aid kit was interesting. Bought my house approx 10 years ago, basement was leaky and needed to strip out all the framing and old moldy wood to get to the concrete foundation. As I slowly started tearing it down, I kept finding dime bags and bent spoons, not one not two but many. Pretty sure by the time I was all done I had 7 bent spoons and 20-30 baggies. All tucked in ceiling, behind a vent, or just in the walls. Talking to the original neighbor, the house was rented to an older retired fellow for at least the last 15 years. So either he liked to party or someone did. A bomb shelter. My 1912 farmhouse in Minnesota had a World War II era reinforced cement bomb shelter in what I think was a coal fuel room originally. It was painted and had writing on the walls, but then painted over again so you couldn't really see what it said. There was a safe buried in the floor that contained only water, because it was not the kind of safe you're supposed to bury in the floor. The house was being used as a convent for the still existing church across the street during World War II. What were the nuns worried about? I bought from a nice older couple looking to move into a retirement home. Several months later, I was in the attic of the detached workshop and found a very large strap-on dildo. It was old, made out of wood, and hollowed out inside, with thin elastic material like you'd find in the waistband of a pair of sweatpants. Weird part was where I found it, in the attic of dude's old woodworking shop. Why did he stash it there? I assume if it was for use with the wife, he wouldn't hide it somewhere like that. The house we moved into in the 70s was one where it had been added onto a couple times and the exterior remodeled to look consistent. But the original part dated to the mid-1700s. Deep in the basement crawl space under the old part there was a short bricked up protuberance attached to the wall with the letters RIP chiseled into the top. We used to joke about it until we found out it had been a place where midwives delivered babies at one point. Then the jokes got a little macabre. Wasn't me but a buddy of mine found an unlocked safe full of gold coins worth $6,000 in the floor of his garage. It was like a Reddit wet dream. Worst part about it was that he was already well off after inheriting his wife's family business, and my wife and I were super broke, struggling to save for our own home. He was like, "Yeah, we blew it all on new furniture." Not that we expected any of the money. But man, sometimes it feels like the universe just throws money at rich people. Before I met her, my wife got a call from someone she worked with saying they'd just bought an old house in the city, and in it was a steamer trunk with her family name, not a common one, carved into the woodwork on one end. As it turns out, it was the trunk that her great-grandfather used when he came over from Germany, and it made the trip to my wife's hometown when he met her great-grandmother on a visit, and subsequently moved to her city to marry her. We now have it, not mine. And it was a rental, But when some of my high school friends went off to college in the early 90s, they rented a house, and whoever lived there before hid weed all over the place. Probably about an ounce in total, but it was everywhere. Pull out the corner of the carpet, weed. On top of the refrigerator, weed. Back of the shelves in the hall closet, weed. Either they were the most forgetful stoners ever, or they did it as a surprise for the new residents. A glass bowl. It was kind of pretty, with horizontal blue stripes. We kept fruit in it. We thought about dropping it off at the local charity shop, but never got around to it. Then one day I was at an antique fair and I saw for sale glass bowls that looked almost identical to ours. I went home to get my bowl and brought it to be assessed. Turns out it was a vintage Orpheus crystal bowl. The assessor valued it at around $800. We no longer keep fruit in it. We bought the house from the CEO of the company which we franchised from. It was her childhood home where her mother lived till the day she died. In true rich person fashion, they didn't care to clean out the house before selling it. Just told us we can do whatever we want with the old lady stuff that was there. We found a hidden box of spicy letters, from the old lady to her affair partner spanning many years. That was fun to give to the CEO. It's not really weird, but I think it's kind of a nice story. One of the kids' rooms has a shelf going all around the top edge, and when my kid was putting stuff up there they found a letter from the previous kid. The letter welcomed them to the room etc. and asked them to take special care of a rose bush in the front yard that was their special rose bush. My kid thought it was really cool to have that connection with the previous kid. 30 plus years ago my parents bought an older home in a historic district and found 2 human skulls on a high shelf in the garage. They called the police. It turns out the previous owner was a missionary who received the skulls as a gift from a tribe they were on mission to in some faraway land that I cannot remember. I think there was official paperwork, but my memory is not good. The skulls were donated to a local museum, not my house, but the school my friend worked at. A pipe had leaked and ruined a wall in the building, one of the oldest schools in the city. It was a beautiful property. Anyways, the pipe leaked, so they pulled down the ruined wall and behind the wall found a door. A fully furnished apartment was there. Had a coal-burning stove to heat it. Early 1900s appliances and decor. It was for the caretaker of the school. In the basement there was an unopened box of boob caps for soda cans. Attach it to the top of a can and it looks like you're drinking from a boob. In the attic there was an old CRT TV with like knobs and stuff sitting on a wooden box, with a smaller wooden box next to it. Also an extension cable hooked up. It's weird because my attic's really creepy, no lights. Looked like it was used by the way it was set up. Nothing super odd, but previous owners left the bathrooms completely decorated. It's like when they moved out, they packed up every room except for 2 bathrooms. I mean, you could tell they were professionally cleaned, cause it was all spotless, but like they just left everything, decorations, hand towels, soap dispensers, was just kinda odd. Saved us some time decorating, so we just left it all in place. Lol. Not me, but back in like 2001, 2002 when my parents were house searching they came upon a house that my mom claims to immediately have gotten a bad vibe from. My dad didn't feel it, so they decided to keep checking it out. They went into one of the guest rooms and it was apparently full of satanic symbols drawn on the walls and window, and there was a spot with dried blood. They got out of there fast. In the past 24 hours, I found out that the previous homeowners put linoleum over stick-on tile that was put on top of linoleum. I pulled up the top layer of linoleum a few years ago. I'm in the process of getting all my flooring replaced, and that's how I found out about the other 2 layers of flooring. Why in the world would a person think that a 3rd layer of flooring would be okay? Moved a piece of cabinet and countertop in the basement and found a Ouija board along with a wooden mallet that had been electrical taped by the handle to one of those little Louisville Slugger bat day baseball bats. I'm good friends with the previous owner and his grandparents built the house and he had no explanation for the pair. We call the improvised weapon the hammer bat now. When we had our kitchen done, I was presented with a VHS tape. I can't remember the title of the film, but the cover art portrayed several barely clad and slightly sweaty looking ladies. A day or so later a bottle of naproxen tablets from 1991 was unearthed. The label was handwritten. In the built-in garage we found an antique sword. Edited because I forgot to mention the sword. When I purchased my first home in 2020 they left all of the staging furniture, couch, coffee table, dining room table and chairs, random paintings, a TV. Some towels and floor mats. Other small miscellaneous stuff. We were stoked since we were moving from a 1-bed apartment. Lol. Gave us time to save some more money and shop around for the furniture we wanted. Found a manuscript about an uncle who takes his young niece in after her parents die. Then they fall in love. It was so badly written and disturbing. We also found a giant dildo, a photo of an all-man throuple glamour shot style and a love letter written on college letterhead to a 13-year-old girl. All in the same attic, East Nashville. I was cleaning apartment at some point. We found an Abs plastic pipe cover with one of those silver birthday banners wrapped around it to make the pipe chromed. It took us a while, but my friend took it in the bedroom, and stood it up. It didn't reach the ceiling, so in the living room we go and it a snug fit. For a DIY stripper pole my ex-wife found behind a drawer in a built-in cupboard. A lovely lock box contained several nice pocket watches and family heirlooms. The great part was that with a little sleuthing, we found the son of the man who originally built that house and reunited these items to the family. It was a wonderful experience from start to finish. Our house has a lot of odd DIY things from the previous owner, such as regular doorknobs on closets, a very odd downstairs bathroom, etc. But the thing we were most amused by is a small statue of sorts that was left behind. Think Easter Island head, but not quite. It's now our office cat room doorstop and I'm still amused when I see it. Remodeled my bathroom and when I removed some drywall there was a Nazi symbol with the words 3 Jews lie beneath this tub, Sieg Heil written in permanent marker. I made sure to get that covered up before my wife and kids saw it. 99.9999 chance it was a shitty joke by a worker years ago, but I wasn't about to go find out.